Do you have hip pain? Have you tried a bunch of stretches that you found on YouTube or Google and they just don't seem to be making it any better? If so, today's video is for you. Hey, I'm Dr. Ian Putney from Wellington Family Chiropractic, and today I'm going to talk about a study called the XPOS study, or the Extremity Pain of Spinal Source study, done in 2019 in the Journal of Manual and Manipulative Therapy. So what they did with this study, that's a mouthful, but basically what they're trying to figure out here is when people have extremity pain, both upper extremity and lower extremity, is that pain in the extremity, or in layman's terms, the extremity being the lower leg, is that hip pain coming from a problem in the hip, or is that hip pain coming from spinal origin? In other words, is your hip pain caused by a problem in your low back and there's actually nothing wrong with the tissue of the hip? So what they did in this study is they took 329 participants. You had to be over 15 years of age. There was some inclusion and exclusion criteria. You couldn't have inflammatory processes like rheumatoid arthritis and other things like that. You were excluded. So it was just people that thought they had hip pain, or that had hip pain. They didn't think it was coming from their spine, or their referring physician did not think it was coming from their spine. And what they did with these people is they put them through what's called an MDT assessment, or a McKinsey Mechanical Diagnosis and Therapy assessment, to determine if it was an actual hip problem or if it was of spinal origin. Now that part's important because the MDT approach, which is what we do here at the office, is different than a lot of other assessments, but it's very good at figuring out exactly where the source of the pain or what the source of the pain is. And so all this to say, they put these 369 people through the rigors of the assessment, and what did they find? It's a bit shocking. So they found that 71% of the time that these people had hip pain, the people there that had hip pain, 71% of them, the origin of the pain was actually from the spine. So that means although they were having pain in their hip was not the problem. The problem was their lumbar spine. So it was being referred from upstream in their spine. A spinal problem causing hip pain, 71% of the time. That is a lot. So if you're at home, what you can take from this study is, if you're somebody that has, nagging chronic hip pain, and you stretch it, you walk, you do a bunch of different stuff, and it just doesn't seem to get better, you may need to be assessed and see if that's actually coming from your spine, because 71%, according to this study, of the time, it could be coming from your spine. And that is huge, because you can do all the hip stretches in the world, which aren't going to hurt you. They're probably helping your hip health, but they may not get rid of that pain if it's coming from your low back or your spine. Very, very good study. It's very applicable to the general public, because we got a lot of people in here every day with hip pain and they can't figure out what's causing it, and they've been digging on it and stretching and doing all this stuff, and it's just not getting better. They need their low back assessed, but you need to be properly assessed wherever you go to make sure that you can determine, is it coming from the spine, or is it just or is it actually in my hip? And then from there, we can go off in either direction, treating either the lumbar spine or the spine, or we can go treat the hip, because we know 100%, or not 100%, but we know pretty well it's coming from the actual tissue of the hip. So hope this video helps. I think it's very enlightening sometimes to see that, although you're having pain, not in your low back, it's clear down in your hip, it's actually coming from your low back 71% of the time. Hope this video helps. We'll talk to you soon.